Hi, I'm Sean O'Connor. Welcome to part 3 of my video series, Mastering Harmony for Guitarists. This video is sponsored by the Sacramento Guitar Society. To learn more about the Guitar Society, follow the links in the video description. You can also follow a link if you want to learn more about me. In the last video, I showed you how to play 3 different voicings for each of the major, minor, and diminished triads. Then, we moved those voicings up the neck to 12 different root notes, which gave us a total of 108 distinct chords. In this video, I'm going to teach you about chord progressions. What are chord progressions, you may ask? Well, chord progressions are tried and true combinations of chords that have been used again and again over the years by composers and songwriters. Academics have since analyzed these combinations and come up with a set of rules that apply to most of them. So if you learn the rules and you follow the rules, you, or basically anyone, can produce a musically pleasing series of chords. It eliminates the guesswork. An important side note to this fact is that the term chord progression is often misused, as if it meant any succession of chords. That's not the case. Of course, there are many combinations of chords that don't follow the rules of chord progressions and sound great. I think you should discover them. You should use them, of course. Know the rules and break them on purpose. Break them from a place of understanding rather than a place of ignorance. Or you can follow the rules and know that you're guaranteed to get something that sounds good. It's up to you. Personally, I prefer to have all the options. Now, if after hearing all this you're still asking the question, why is this useful? Allow me to give you several reasons. Cue the slides! Reason number 1, songwriting and composition. You can use a chord progression as the basis for a song or a musical composition of another sort. You can also use a chord progression if you're sitting around with other guitar players and somebody knows how to improvise and they need something to improvise over. You play some chords, they improvise. If you're an improviser yourself, well, you can lay that chord progression down for yourself, record it or loop it, and play over it. And again, guaranteed to sound good. Moving on. Reason number 2, deeper understanding supports faster learning. Understanding progressions will give you a deeper understanding of other people's music. You can learn a song faster if you recognize the progression it uses. Same goes with a classical guitar piece or a jazz standard. Understanding equals faster learning. Next. Reason number 3, develop your chord skills and get better at guitar. Simply put, writing and playing your own progressions is a fun and satisfying way to practice your chord skills and will make you a better guitarist. We're guitar players. What do we do about 90% of the time? In some way, shape, or form, we play chords and we change between chords. Any kind of practice that gets you doing more of this while being fun and creative will simply make you a better player. So, hopefully I've convinced you to learn this and why it's important. If not, go away. Come back when you're ready. For those of you who stay, let's get to work. All right, early on when you're learning how to write progressions and you're learning the rules about it, you also need to learn the Roman numeral naming system for chords. Roman numerals allow us to talk about chords in a way that's not specific to any key. So instead of saying, I'm playing a C major chord at the beginning of this progression, you say, I'm playing the 1 chord. We call it the 1 chord because it is built off of the first note of the C major scale. That, of course, would apply to the key of C. So if you're in the key of C, your 1 chord is C major. And we would write that with a Roman numeral. The Roman numeral would indicate the type of chord and which note of the scale it's built on. We talked about it indicating the note of the scale it's built on. That's what 1 means. But in order to indicate Whether it's major, minor, or something else, we use different types of Roman numerals, and sometimes a little symbol. Specifically, a capital Roman numeral, an uppercase Roman numeral, means that the chord is major. A lowercase Roman numeral means that the chord is minor. So for example, in C major, the 2 chord, D minor, would be represented with a lowercase Roman numeral 2, II. Finally, diminished chords are also represented by lowercase Roman numerals, but they have this little circle afterward, like a degree sign. And that's what separates minor from diminished. Minor has lowercase, diminished has lowercase with the little degree sign. So we're going to do some examples. All of our examples in this video are going to be in the key of C because that's the easiest key with no sharps or flats. Here are the Roman numerals for the chords in the key of C. C major is represented by a capital I, right? Roman numeral 1 capitalized. D minor, lowercase II, Roman numeral 2. E minor, Roman numeral 3, lowercase, because it's minor. F major, capital 4 in Roman numerals. G major, capital 5. A minor, lowercase 6. And finally, as promised, B diminished, lowercase 7 with the little degree sign indicating that it's diminished. So those are the Roman numerals we're going to use throughout the video, and anytime we reference them, it's assumed that these are the chords we're talking about because we're working in the key of C. You can work in other keys if you wish, but know that when I play the examples on guitar, that's the key I'll be playing in. All right, before we get into the mechanics of how chord progressions work, that is to say the how of chord progressions, we're going to talk about the why of chord progressions. In other words, why this system works. And at the core of that is the concept of tension and resolution. So how do we create tension in music, in chord progressions? Well, we move away from the one chord. Moving away from the one is what creates tension. You're moving to any other chord in the key, and that's going to create a sense of tension. Exactly how much tension is going to depend upon which chord you go to, and also how soon you come back to the one. When you do get back to the one, that's what creates the sense of resolution. So this whole idea of progression is based on gradually increasing tension followed by resolution, which is very much like a traditional story arc. If you go and you see a good movie, there's going to be a balance of these elements. There's going to be something that happens that is in opposition to the heroes somehow, right? Something bad happens, they have to solve a problem. That's tension. If they solve the problem at the end of the movie, or there's some kind of end to the problem, whether it's in their favor or not, that's resolution. That's a good movie. On the other hand, if you're at a movie and nothing's happening, there's no tension, everybody's happy and going about their business, it's boring. Nobody wants to watch that movie. Another movie nobody wants to watch is one where there's too much tension. All the tension is unresolved at the end of the film. That's what we call an unsatisfying ending. We've all been to movies like that. Which do you prefer? Music is the same way. The best music has a balance of the elements of tension and resolution. And that's how this system of chord progressions is supposed to work. That's why it works. This is how progressions work, right in front of you. We call this the orbit diagram. In the middle, you have the one chord, which is kind of like the sun, right? And then on the first orbit, right outside of that one chord, you have the 5 and the 7. Next orbit out, you have the 4 and the 2. Next orbit out, all by itself, you have the 6 chord. And then finally, on the very outermost orbit, you have the 3. The system of progressions works like this. The only time you're allowed to move out is from the one chord. So from 1, you can go to any other chord. But once you have committed to a different chord, from that point on, you can only move inward, or it's more appropriate to say you can't move outward, except from the 1. So, for example, we start on 1, we always start on 1. We go out to, let's say, 3, all the way out. So from that point, we have a lot of choices because we can't move any farther out. So we could go to 6, that's the next orbit in, that's fine. Then from there, if we wanted to, we could go to straight back to 1. So you can skip as many orbits as you want. You don't have to go to every orbit on the way in. As long as you don't move out, that's the only rule. So we're on 1 again. Let's say we move back out, we go to 4. Now from 4, we could go back to 1, of course. We could go to 5. We could go to 7. Or we could actually stay on the same orbit once we're on 4 and go to 2. Because, again, we're not moving outward. So the only hard and fast rule here, folks, is that you can only move outward from the 1 chord. Everything else is good. Now, there are a couple of exceptions to this rule, which you're going to see in the upper right-hand corner of the diagram there. These are kind of like our escape hatches. That's how I like to think of it anyway. So let's say you're writing a progression and you're stuck in the middle and you're on 5 and you don't want to go back to 1 because you're not quite ready to resolve that, but you don't have a lot of choices. So the escape hatch is you can go back out to 6. It's not technically a progression, but it's used so much and it sounds so good that it's become kind of this acceptable substitute. So you can go out to 6, and then from there you've once again increased your options. Also, the other exception is from 7. From 7 you can move out to 3, which drastically increases your options. And that's the whole system of moving through progressions where all the chords are in the same key, all your diatonic chords. So the recap is super simple. The rules are thus: you can only move outward from the 1. Everything else is good. The exceptions to that rule are it's okay to move from 5 to 6, and it's okay to move from 7 to 3. As we move on through the video, I'm going to work a number of examples of progressions, and I'm going to play them for you. In the video links, there is a link to this diagram so that if you want to, you can print it out or you can have it on your screen as you go through the rest of the video. So at this point, we're going to work through a bunch of examples. I'm going to play them on the guitar, and you'll be able to hear how nice they sound because they're progressions and they're guaranteed to sound good. So this is the part where we do progressions with 2 chords. First up, these are all in the key of C. The first one is 1-5-1 or C, G, C. 1-7-1, B, C, B diminished C. 1-4-1, C, F, C. 1-2-1, C, D minor, C. So essentially, anything where you go from C to another chord in the key of C and then back is a progression with 2 chords. On to progressions with 3 chords. Our first example is a 1-4-5-1 in the key of C, C, F, G, C. The 1-4-5 is possibly the most popular progression of all time. From classical music to rock music, you're going to hear this everywhere. Once you learn its sound, you'll start to recognize it in many songs that you hear, and of course many classical pieces as well. Next up we have a 1-2-7-1, C, D minor, B diminished, C. A 1-6-4-1, C, A minor, F, C. A 1-2-5-1, a very, very popular progression in jazz. The 2-5-1 is one of the cornerstones of jazz music. C, D minor, G, and C. One, 3, 6, 1. C, E minor, A minor, C. Of course, there are many other progressions you can write with 3 chords. These are just a few. Progressions with 4 chords. Our first one is 1-6-4-5-1, C, A minor, F, G, C. And this is one that you're going to hear a lot in the doo-wop music of the 50s and the 60s. One, 6, 2, 7, 1, C, A minor, D minor, B diminished, C. One, 3, 6, 5, 1, C, E minor, A minor, G, C. One, 4, 2, 5, 1, C, F, D minor, G, C. This is the one that contains the 4 and the 2 are in the same orbit, so it's still legal. You're not moving outward. One, 3, 2, 5, 1, C, E minor, D minor, G, C. And once again, they all sound amazing. It's so easy. And now for the final slide and the last group of progressions. These are progressions with 5 chords. We're going to start off with a 1-6-4-1-5-1, C, A minor, F, C, G, C. If you can't tell already, I'm going to have a little more fun with these ones. The next one is a 1-3-6-2-7-1, C, E minor, A minor, D minor, B diminished, and C. One, 3, 6, 4, 5, 1, C, E minor, A minor, F, G, C. A 1-6-4-2-5-1, C, A minor, F, D minor, G, C. 1, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, C, E minor, A minor, D minor, G, C. Alright, well, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I really hope that you use this information to create, practice, and play your own chord progressions. And I also hope you use the information in this video to analyze the chord progressions in tunes that you're working on, of course, once you get comfortable enough with it. You'll also need to be able to move this to different keys in order to fully use it. Not every song or piece is in the key of C. So hit up that transposition. The next video, I'm going to give you even more chords to play around with. In video 2, we did 108 chords, all on the first 3 strings, or first 4 strings, really. The next video is going to expand your vocabulary down into lower strings. Eventually, we'll have triads that you can play on every string, all 6 strings. So lots more videos to come in this series, and I hope you'll be with me for the whole journey. Thanks for watching, and thanks again to the Sacramento Guitar Society for sponsoring this video series. Have a great day.